High drama in the final week of conference play, and March Madness is right around the corner. You're watching the NEC On the Run Hoops podcast, and it's coming to you next. John Kelly Jr. and Rod Ratner here for the NEC On the Run Hoops podcast. And as we are in the final week of conference play, the drama is going to continue. Robert Morris is in the driver's seat for the conference title. They've now clinched a home game for the quarterfinals, but Bryant's right below them, and they can still win the crown.
Yeah, I mean, this has been a fantastic season if you're into all the races that are occurring up and down the standings right here. No team is broken away from the pack, and there's as we say, there is drama heading into the final 2 games of the regular season. So let's start at the top. We have Robert Morris is there right now. They're 12-4. They have a game lead on Bryant, and they have a 2-game lead on the rest of the pack. Now, the key thing is that they play each other Thursday. So this is a heck of a showdown up in Smithfield that we're going to see on Thursday between 2 teams that are going to be going all out for that number 1 seed, which guarantees you home games throughout the NEC tournament as long as you remain alive. Bryant beat Robert Morris in both teams' season opener back in January. So Robert Morris is going to be looking for revenge. I know it's going to be a packed house at Bryant. If Robert Morris wins this game, they've clinched it. They're going to be the number 1 seed. If Bryant wins, the 2 teams are tied, and then Bryant controls its own destiny. If it wins Saturday against St. Francis U, they'll be the champions. It's their first year of eligibility. First year that they are eligible to be in the tournament after they've transitioned from D2. And boom, right there, they could be our NEC regular season champion. So at the top, that's what you're looking at. Then you have right below, you have 3 teams now tied for third. You have Wagner, LIU, and Quinnipiac at 10-6. They're looking to get home games for sure. Finish in that top 4, so at least you play a quarterfinal game in your own arena. The big game there is LIU and Quinnipiac on Saturday at the Rack in Brooklyn. That could very well knock one team out into 5 or below, and the other team would wind up hosting. So they always have good games together. I think that's going to be a hot one. You have Mount St. Mary's is at 6 right now. They're red hot. I mean, they might be playing the best ball in the whole conference, and they could actually sneak into a 4 seed pending the results of what happens this week. So we'll see there. Last night we had Central Connecticut became the 7th team in with a big win over Quinnipiac at home. Kyle Viñales with a big 27-footer right at the end of the game. For anybody else outside of maybe Shane Gibson, that's not a great shot. When Kyle Viñales puts it up, it's a good shot. He wins the game, puts them in the tournament. So the pressure's off for them. So then you have 1 spot left, Sacred Heart and St. Francis Brooklyn. They will play each other on Saturday, in which is a knockout/elimination game between those 2 teams most likely. And we'll see who get in. And all I can say is this. If either of those teams are the 8th seed, I wouldn't want to play them in the first round because St. Francis Brooklyn, that's a team that's held a lead in the second half of nearly every game this season. I think they're better than their record indicates. And when you have a team like Sacred Heart, when you have a player who's just out of this world like Gibson is, you can win that first-round game. So I think this might be the year we may be looking at some upsets in those quarterfinal games. Should be a fun tournament.
A buzzer beater cemented an instant classic last Sunday on ESPNU between Wagner and LIU Brooklyn.
Yeah, I tweeted this out after the game. I've been working at the NEC for 15 years, and we've televised I don't know how many 100 TV games. This was up there. One of my colleagues said it may have been the best. I certainly think it's in the top 3. You're on a national spotlight. It's Sunday night. You have the Oscars, and then you have us. There's no other sports going on. So I think that there was some word of mouth going on that this was a good game. High-scoring game between 2 rival teams from New York City, LIU and Wagner. So you're going coast to coast, and this game had everything. You like dunks, you like big dunks, you had them. You like block shots, spiked block shots, you had that. You had some nifty pass, and Jason Brickman was doing his Jason Brickman stuff. And then you had some comebacks. LIU took a big lead in the first half. Wagner came back, and then they took a double-digit lead. So it comes down to 2 minutes left in the game, and you have Wagner leading by 10 points. Looks like done deal. And then boom, boom, boom. Three-pointer. Brickman banks in a three-pointer, cuts it a three. Teams exchange some free throws. Next thing you know, LIU has the ball, less than 20 seconds left. Brickman's bringing the ball up the court, and he sticks a dagger three right in there to tie the game up, 92-92. No timeouts called, which I like. I like that. No time to set the defense. Lateef Rivers stands by half court, kills some clock, takes the ball, drives hard to his left, throws it high off the backboard, and LIU forgot about Ken Ortiz, catches the ball, lays it in, nearly at the buzzer for the win. And the funny part about it is that this is not the first time we've seen Ken Ortiz do that. He has 4 buzzer-beater wins in his 2 years at Wagner, including a very memorable one, a YouTube sensation one against Santa Clara last season, where he threw one possibly over the back of the backboard. But it was a crazy angle shot that won them a tournament out west. So great win for Wagner. That really helps them in their the quest for a home game in this tournament. But I think the winner was all the fans who got to see a 94-92 a game like that featured all the star power and all the big plays you'd ever want to see in a game.
It was also a week of individual accomplishments as a pair of teammates from Sacred Heart and LIU Brooklyn made their mark, and Jalen Cannon from St. Francis, 500 rebounds in 2 years.
Yeah, this guy is well on his way to potentially breaking our all-time record. He has got 500 rebounds in 2 seasons. The record's a little over 1,000. So he was the nation's second leading freshman rebounder as last season, behind Anthony Davis of Kentucky. This year, he's having a fantastic year. I think you'll be hearing his name. He's going to be one of those guys that's going to be here for 4 years. You're going to be like, he's still around because he was so good as a freshman. Shane Gibson, there's only one guy on Sacred Heart who's amongst the leaders. Shane Gibson crossed 2,000 points. Only 5 guys have done that in this league. 5 guys in 32 years. He eclipsed that barrier yesterday with another 30-point game last night against Bryant. So along with his scoring, he's a sharpshooter. He is also in the top 10 of our all-time three-point leaders. He moved up to 6th place last night. So there's only 2 guys in the history of the conference that are in the top 10 all-time in scoring and made three-pointers. He's one of them, along with the great Chris McGuthrie of the Mount back in the mid-'90s. So hats off to Shane Gibson, he's doing his thing in his last few games in his Sacred Heart career. We also have Jamal Olasawir from LIU. He cracked the top 10 all-time rebounding list. He's passed 900 rebounds. You have more Jason Brickman. He holds the NEC freshman record for assists, sophomore record for assists. The other day he set the junior record for assists and probably will set the all-time record at some point. He's currently first in the nation in assists. And no, actually, you were right. There are 2 guys from Sacred Heart that we're going to talk about because Phil Gaetano is 3rd in the nation this season in assists. So we have the number 1 and the number 3 distributors in the country. So a lot of good stuff. As you get to the end of the year, this is where individual accomplishments start piling up, and it's fun to talk about.
Well, a team that is a model of consistency is the Robert Morris Colonials. 5 20-win seasons in 6 years, 10 straight postseason appearances, and this stretch, Ron, is 3rd best in NEC league history.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about Robert Morris each week. I think that the scene was set even before the current regime arrived. When Mark Schmidt was there, more like 7, 8 years ago, there were some really good players in the program. Then when Mike Rice came aboard, he upped that talent level even more, and they won 2 titles there. Then Andy Toole took over, and he was the associate, and they just continue to win. They made 2 championship appearances. They're in first place now. So to have 5 20-win seasons in 6 years at this level is a testament to what they've accomplished there, the consistency of the program. They've won 123 games, over the last 6 seasons. It's fantastic. And to have a 10-year stretch where you have the 3rd best record in league history, that just says something about what they're trying to do over there. And, I don't see them falling off anytime soon either.
Well, the final playoff spot is down to the wire. The NEC wildcard television game, Ron. Get to your tube.
Yeah, this is it. We made our decision this morning. A lot of deliberation. There were a bunch of games we talked about, but we're going to televise the Central Connecticut State Robert Morris game on Saturday on MSG and Fox College Sports Pacific. You'll have once again, you want star power. You have Velton Jones, you have Kyle Vinales, and Robert Morris could very well be playing to win the NEC regular season crown. So I think it's going to be a good one in New Britain, 11:30 a.m. Saturday.
Thank you. Good insight, Ron. For Ron Ratner, I'm John Kelly Jr. This has been the NEC On the Run Men's Hoops Podcast. John Kelly Jr. along the always gregarious Ralph Ventre here for the NEC On the Run Women's Hoops Podcast. And Ralph, Quinnipiac, they're regular season champs.
That they are, John. They were 3-0 last week, and they have clinched the number 1 seed in the upcoming NEC tournament. Trisha Fabry's Bobcats, 17 in a row, 25-2 overall, 16-0 in Northeast Conference play, 2 games away from sort of joining that immortality, that elite class of teams to run the table in the NEC regular season. Of course, we last saw that in 2009 when Sacred Heart did so, 18-0, and then they won 3 in the tournament, so 21-0 against NEC opponents that year. So Quinnipiac, the bottom line is they have a chance to do something very special. They've already had such a very special season, a phenomenal season at that, and let's see if they can keep it rolling, keep it going. 16-0, let's see if they can get to that magic 18, and then, of course, the 3 tournament games to lock up that NEC automatic bid to the big dance. However, NCAA Tournament Committee, if you're listening, the Bobcats, should they not win the NEC tournament, are deserving of getting in that conversation for an at-large bid. I mean, there's no question about it. At 25-2, key non-league wins over James Madison, a CAA foe, over St. John's. They went down, they played Georgia Tech, so they went and challenged themselves. They did not hide from anyone this year. 2 great wins over Sacred Heart in league play, our second-place team and defending champion. So Quinnipiac really building a phenomenal resume. Can't say enough about the Bobcats this year.
And also, just to let the NCAA committee know, they moved into the top 10 in the mid-major poll in women's basketball. One of the reasons why they're very good, Ralph, Jasmine Martin, their guard, had a big week and a very balanced roster.
Yeah, number 9 in the mid-major poll, collegeinsider.com. And as you mentioned, Jasmine Martin was at the center of that 3-0 week for Quinnipiac. She's a lightning-quick guard. She can score the ball, averaged about 17 a game this past week, shot it at about 47%. So she really got Quinnipiac, carried the Bobcats this week. But the thing that makes Trisha Fabry's team so dangerous is that anyone on any given night can be the star. You have Felicia Barron, a phenomenal guard, electric as I've seen in this league. She was second in the nation in steals last year. A veteran guard, a 5th-year player. Then you have Brittany McQuain. She's been a 2-time Choice Hotels NEC Player of the Week. So they're so deep, and they can come at you on so many different angles. The thing about Quinnipiac is their balance. You know, Jasmine Martin, she had 17 points a game. She only played a combined 69 minutes in 3 games last week. No one on the Bobcats is averaging even 28 minutes a game. Felicia Barron, she's the highest, 27.9 minutes a game. And it's not because Felicia Barron can't play 40 minutes a game or Jasmine Martin can't play 40 minutes a game, because they certainly can. They're capable, they're athletic enough, but they don't have to. You know, Trisha Fabry is in such a great position, a position that a lot of other coaches have to envy, in the sense that she has so many different pieces that she can call on, and she does call upon every night. So Quinnipiac, as deep a team as I've seen in the Northeast Conference, and let's see if things pan out for them as we move forward. March is right around the corner, John.
We know who's at the top, but at the bottom, 3 teams within a half game for the 8th and final spot.
Yeah, well, 6 of the 8 teams are in. We know that. We have 6 tickets punched, 6 invitations sent out. So you have Quinnipiac, Sacred Heart. Then, of course, you have Monmouth and St. Francis, PA, which, if it would end today, those 2 teams would host quarterfinal games. So that top 4, Quinnipiac, Sacred Heart, St. Francis U, out in Pennsylvania, and Monmouth, they would host our quarterfinal games. And then we know that St. Francis, Brooklyn, congrats to the Terriers. They're in. They've punched a ticket, okay? And, of course, we'll hear from John Thurston later on in the show. He's my guest this week on the On the Run podcast exclusive interview. So we got to sit down with Coach Thurston and get his take on really what's happened and what has caused or led to that renaissance in Brooklyn Heights. But anyway, the Terriers are in, so that's 5. Mount St. Mary's is also in. They're your 6th team. The Mount is 9-7 overall. 1 game behind PA, St. Francis U out in Pennsylvania, and Monmouth for the right to host a quarterfinal game. So the Mount has a chance there too. As you can see with the NEC, we only take the top 8 teams. With the home court, there's always a lot going on, a lot to sort out here. And we didn't even talk about, as you mentioned, the 3-team tie or quasi-tie for the final spot. You have 3 teams within a half game of each other. Of course, Bryant, 6-9, is a half game up on Robert Morris and Fairleigh Dickinson, yes, at 6-10. So those 3 teams, you don't know what's going to shake out there. And then Bryant can also catch Central Connecticut. Central Connecticut is 8-8. They're tied with St. Francis Brooklyn for 6th place. But tiebreaker-wise, St. Francis Brooklyn has clinched. Central Connecticut, it's not a foregone conclusion yet. The way things can shake out, complex 3-4-way ties, tiebreakers, it's still up in the air for Central. Although they're on the cusp, they're right there at the door, but we still cannot put the asterisk next to their name yet. So a lot to sort out with only 2 games left. Of course, actually, Saturday and Monday, but we do have 1 makeup game on Wednesday night. That'll be Sacred Heart and Bryant. So, I mean, try to digest all that, John. I don't know if you can. A lot going on in NEC women's hoops.
And it's awesome as well. Thank you, Ralph. Always good insight. For Ralph Ventre, I'm John Kelly. This has been the NEC On the Run Women's Hoops Podcast.
Ralph Ventre from the NEC, here with the subject of this week's NEC On the Run interview, St. Francis Brooklyn women's basketball coach, John Thurston. Coach Thurston, it's a pleasure to have you on the program. Thank you for your time this morning.
Great to be here.
Great to have you. Obviously, you had a tough one last night against Wagner, but even with the loss, you still clinched the spot in the Northeast Conference tournament, and this ends a 5-year postseason hiatus for the Terriers. So can you just talk about a little bit about your feelings last night when you found out that St. Francis would be going to the postseason?
Well, it was kind of mixed feelings because you want to win your way in rather than having someone else lose their way out. So it's nice to know that your whole body of work counts for something. But I last night's loss was tough to swallow because we had an 18-point lead, and I wanted the girls to feel like they won their way into something. So it's kind of like taking the back door, but when you haven't been there in as many years as St. Francis has, any way that you can get in, I guess is a good thing. So.
Well, you mentioned obviously that you came up short last night, but in terms of wins, you already have 8 Northeast Conference wins and 11 wins overall. These are both big milestones for the program. Hasn't happened in quite some time in Brooklyn Heights. Can you just talk a little bit about the difference between last year's team, which you were also a part of as an associate head coach, and this year's team, with you being the head coach? A lot of the same players, but a lot different results. What has been the major contrast between last year and this year?
Well, I think the main thing is, we wanted to change the culture of what we would accept and what we wouldn't accept in terms of practice, attitude, the way that we approach things, the way not only from the player's perspective but also from the staff. So we raised our level of performance and our level of expectation of effort. And I think when you do those things, you have to stay by it every day, and you have to have kids that will buy into it. And I think we have that. We have really good kids, and this was something that goes back to a couple of years ago when I sat down with Brenda when I first came here, and we talked about the type of player that we should have in the program. And if you look back in St. Francis history, the last time that they were pretty good, when they had 13 wins, they had a team that a player, the makeup of the player on the team was very similar to the type of kid we have now. And then they kind of went away from that. When Brenda and I talked, we talked about recruiting really good kids, really good students that would buy into the things that you wanted to do, would work really hard. Maybe not the most talented kids, and we've done that. We're the number one team in the NEC in terms of team GPA, and ranked 10th in the country. So we've got really smart kids. Sometimes that works in your favor, sometimes it doesn't. But basically, the kids have worked extremely hard, have bought into what we call the all-in atmosphere, and overall, although last night was kind of disheartening for us, we've overcome a lot this year. We've had players out with injuries. Ailey Simpson, who's probably our best player, hasn't played in the last 2 games. Jazz Robinson only played in 2 conference games up until this weekend. Jessica Kaufman has missed games. We still have 3 other players on our roster that are out for the year. So we're nowhere near close to our full potential yet, individually and as a team, and I think that's the encouraging part going forward.
Sure, and you mentioned bringing in a certain type of player, a certain type of student athlete, and now, if you wouldn't mind talking about a few of these student athletes specifically, I know you mentioned Ellie Simpson, and also there's a sophomore by the name of Sarah Benedetti. What have those 2 women meant when they've been on the floor for you this year, and even off the floor in practice and off the court? What have they meant to the St. Francis program?
Well, Ailey is really a competitor. She's played internationally. When you with the Australian kids, they come up in a different system. They play against women. High school basketball for them is kind of like a fun thing, but their real basketball is played in what amounts to semi-pro basketball. So when they're 16, 17 years old, they're playing against 25-year-old women. So Ailey has a great competitiveness to her. Sarah Benedetti is a very intelligent kid, a 4.0 student who works at her game constantly. She's the first one on the court, the last one to leave. Also, what we did was we recruited 2 players from Twinsburg High School in Ohio, which won back-to-back state championships, and Katie Fox, our sophomore, and Leah Fetchko, a freshman who's been the Rookie of the Week 3 times. What those kids bring is the mentality of winning. Not necessarily the talent that it takes to win, but the mentality of what you have to do to be successful. And neither one of them is at the highest level talent-wise, but everyday effort in and out of practice, competitiveness, attitude, willingness to help their teammates and be leaders. They bring a tremendous amount of intangibles to the table. And we've tried to fill our team with players like that, and I think that we're starting to reap the dividends of taking that kind of approach to recruiting.
So, what would you say your team's kind of MO is, like their identity, or have they really developed one yet? Is it still too early?
I think it's still early. That's a great question, Ralph, because after last night we're kind of questioning that ourselves. I still think that we still have a little bit of the mentality of the St. Francis in the past where, we've had, last night was not the first game where we've blown an 18-point lead. That's actually the fourth time that's happened. And we try to tell our players after the game, if you're good enough to get an 18-point lead on a team, we eventually have to be mentally tough enough to close it out. So I still think we're probably right on track, because when I took the job, I told everyone I'm not looking at this as a one-year project. I'm looking at this as a 2 to 3 year project in trying to develop the whole scope of the program. We have not yet gotten into for instance, the strength training part of what we want to do in our program. That begins when the season. We didn't have a chance to do that at the end of last year. So have our kids here in summer school now. We haven't been able to do that here in the past. So there's so many aspects to the program that we're still looking forward to doing that helps you build that mental toughness that it takes to win at the top of this conference, because you have to have that. You got to have tremendous mental toughness in this league to keep yourself up at the top of the league.
All right. Well, Coach Thurston, the plans seem to be in place. You'll get to do a lot more work this off season, but first it's the postseason, the NEC tournament. We wish you and the Terriers the great deal of luck in the tournament. And really, we thank you for your time this morning on NEC On the Run. And best of luck moving forward, Coach Thurston. Thanks a lot.
All right, thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
This is the NEC 9, the top 9 plays on the hardwood. Starting things off, we have a great individual effort from Robert Morris's Kelly Hartwell with the steal, layup, and one.
Hartwell comes in, and a nice easy layup.
At number 8, our favorite Bryant combination of Frankie Dobbs and Alex Francis on the alley-oop. Number 7, check out this putback dunk from the highlight reel himself, Wagner's DeJuan Anderson. Number 6, NCAA assist leader Jason Brickman zips a pass through traffic to E.J. Reed for the lay-in.
Brickman, lightning fast pass inside to Reed with the offhand too. Whoa, what a pass!
Number 5 clip features St. Francis U's Kelly Dugan, who tied a school record with 8 threes in a 35-point effort against FDU on Monday. You like power dunks? At number 4, Sacred Heart freshman De'Aries Tate throws it down with force.
Lowiak, no look to Tate. Tate with a jam.
Number 3 is Central Connecticut State scoring leader Kyle Vinales doing what he does best, sinking a 27-footer to clinch a playoff spot for the Blue Devils on Monday versus Quinnipiac. Buzzer beater at number 2. This time it's Wagner's Kenneth Ortiz with this putback to beat LIU this past Sunday on ESPNU.
Rivers drives, throws it up, no good. Putback Ortiz.
And finally, our number 1 clip is yet another game winner as St. Francis Brooklyn's Dre Calloway beats Wagner with his acrobatic finish last Thursday. Well, that wraps up for this segment of the NEC On the Run Hoops podcast. Come back again on NECFrontRow.com.